Let's rev it up now that we got full throttle potential. And she feels more than powerful. Hello pilots, welcome back to Motion RC with an assembly video on our classic 64mm F-18 Super Hornet. This one is in the Top Hatters scheme. There's another livery, the Royal Maces, I believe it is, and the beauty of this model, it again is a classic. She's an older model now, but I've never got a chance to put one together nor fly her, and I'm excited. I'm always excited to fly something that I've never flown, and I do love it's always fun to fly some smaller models. They're easy to transport. They take a 4S pack. This version is a 4S version. We also have a 3S version of this, and they take your recommended 2200 milliamp packs, which are the type of packs that I believe a lot of people have, because 2200s was about the standard for a long time in electric RC. But just taking a brief look at her, I've already built her. As you can see, she's a gorgeous looking model. The decals come all included. Landing gear though is fixed. It's not retractable, so you can either put them on or take them off. I'm sure you'd be able to hand launch her with 4S power, but I like the look of them for what they are. I think she looks gorgeous. So in this video, as with all assemblies, we will first start with an unboxing. We'll take every part out of the box, then we'll do a brief rundown of the spec, so just what's inside as far as the electronics, the ESC goes. Then we will do a step-by-step assembly, and again, this book was written along, a while back. The manual was written, and you can see in the manual that there are certain things that you just don't need to do anymore. They already come done. So, this model has been upgraded over time. So, it'll be easier if you're getting one now to just watch this video, and we'll take you through a step-by-step assembly. And then at the very end, we'll go over the features of the model. I'll plug her in on the table. We can talk about the CG, the book recommended rates, and then we'll wrap this video up. So I say, let's get started with the unboxing. Alright guys, so starting with the unboxing, as you can see, taking her out, once you take the cover off the box, everything is wrapped up nicely. Everything's got its place, and there shouldn't be any dents or dings on your model. Everything should be protected really well, as mine was. Now, starting to pull the pieces out, you're going to see you get your two horizontal stabilizers. Again, the paint job on this model is really well done. I love how they did it. You get your vertical stabilizers, and the decals are already done on them. Those are definitely the type of decals I wouldn't want to have to do on my own, so I'm happy that they are done for you. Then you're going to get your two main wing sections, and you can see that a carbon spar is already included inside the wing, and also your aileron servos, they're already pre-installed with the control linkages attached. So that's a nice, easy step that you just have to bypass later on because it's already done for you, which is beautiful. Then you get your baggies where, one, you're going to have all your screws, and there's minimal screws that are in here, maybe about 15 or so. You get your control rods and linkages. You get a bag with your landing gear, so your two main gear and your nose assembly. That comes with a nose steering servo, so while this model does not have a rudder, you will need that fourth channel. You plug in your landing gear, your nose gear, into the rudder port. That'll help you steer her while she's on the ground. Then you get a baggie that's going to have your nose cone and your nozzles. Those are pieces that you're going to glue on right at the end. And you can see you get your supplied glue, you get some antennas. And then you got your main fuselage section. And again, she looks beautiful for what she is. The Super Hornet looks fantastic. I like the black, the red, and the gray on her. And again, all the minor decals for a 64mm jet, they're on there and really well done. You got a pilot figure in the front. Taking a look on the bottom, you can see access to your ESCs, to your motors. And taking a look inside the battery hatch, there'll be more than enough space for a 2200. I believe guys on Hobby Squawk have gone up a little bit on the battery size because there's definitely some width there, but there's good placement for everything. There's a good slot where you can put your receiver out of the way of the battery, and it'll be very minimal as far as wiring. There won't be a big rat's nest inside, so I'm really looking forward to getting this model together. Here's all the bits laid out on the table before you. And now I say, before we get assembling, let's get started with the spec. Alright, so the Freewing 64mm F-18 Super Hornet, she's 760mm wingspan, which is about 30 inches, and she's 1,030mm long, or about just over 40 inches. Again, perfect to fit in your back seat. any car, easy to transport, and overall just a good size model for what she is. You're going to have a 2836 3500 kV brushless outrunner with a 40 amp ESC, and that's what we have here. Again, you got 5 9-gram servos. That's going to be 2 for each elevator, so 1 on each side. You got 2 aileron servos and 1 for your nose gear steering. Again, the fan is a 64mm EDF unit, and you're going to need a recommended at least 4-channel receiver to fly her with at least a 2200 3 or 4S battery pack. So that's a brief rundown of what's inside with the spec. Now let's get started with a step-by-step assembly. So now the first thing you're going to see in the book is that installing the main wing is our first step. First thing you're going to need to do is go to the baggie of screws, and you're going to find those 4 8mm screws. And you're going to need 2 of these screws to mount each wing. So all you're going to do is go to the fuselage, and you can see that there's 1 servo lead coming out of both sides of the fuse. That's the big Y lead that's going to connect your ailerons together to go into your receiver port. So then on the wing side, you just make sure you make that connection. You're going to slip the wing on and then drive in your 4 screws, and your main wing assembly is complete. Now moving on to step 2 is going to be installing your elevators. So again, you get 2 elevators, and this couldn't be easier. There's a little rod sticking out of the side of the fuselage, the back of the fuselage, and as you can see on the rod, there is a little slit, if you will, and all you're going to be doing is taking those 2 smallest 4mm screws, and you're going to, when you slip the horizontal stabilizer on, you're going to screw in to the point where that screw is going to go into that slot on the rod. That's so that your elevator won't fall off in flight, but also you shouldn't screw it down tight enough where your elevator doesn't get movement. Now again, the book will tell you that you have to install the elevator servos and things like that, but at this point, your elevator servos already come pre-installed. So once you take those 2 screws and put in your control surfaces here on the elevator, then you're done with step 2. Step 3 is going to be gluing on your vertical stabilizers. So they give you the supplied foam tack Freewing glue, which I use for almost everything. So that's what we're going to use here. Now your best bet, whenever you're gluing on any foam to foam, since they do paint over things, I always like to take a razor blade and I like to score the sections of the 2 foam pieces that are going to meet with the glue. That allows for just better adhesion when you're doing this process, so definitely take the time and score up both sides. Then take a generous amount of glue, put it on either side you want, then you're going to press the vertical stabilizer into the section. And remember to always let a little air into the mixture, so pull it back up a little bit, wait about 90 seconds, then push it in, and you're going to wait for those to dry. So now step 4, for the purpose of this video, we're going to do the landing gear next. Rather than install all the peripherals like your nose cone, your nozzles, and your wing rails, let's get to the landing gear so that we can sit this baby on the ground while we finish up all the minor details. So once that's pressed into place, you will see 6 slots for screws that accept screws on the nose landing gear. So when you go to your baggie that's full of screws, you'll see a baggie that has 6 screws on it, 6 longer screws. Now 2 of those screws are going to be different from the first 4. So the first 4 you can see aren't threaded entirely up. Those are the 4 for the main part of the nose gear, right behind the servo. So we drive those 4 screws in first. And then the 2 screws that aren't quite as long but are threaded fully, they're going to be for the slanted section that connects a little behind the nose steering servo to give that cool F-18 nose gear look. And then the mains, they couldn't be easier because all they do is clip on. And they are really tight. Just make sure when you're doing this, the landing gear, as far as the book goes, they show the rod before the bend in the slant goes towards the nose of the aircraft, not to the back. So you can see here with my thumbs up and my thumbs down showing you the proper direction, because they'll fit in either way, but the way the book shows is that you want to have it in so that the metal pole is closer to the nose rather than to the nozzle. Alright, so once step 4 is done, step 5 is going to be just gluing on all your peripheral bits. So again, anytime you're meeting foam on foam, you want to score those sections so that you'll get a tighter adhesion so things don't fall off or damage in flight or upon landings and things. So like your nose cone here, you're going to use the glue that's supplied, but just score both sections, the front of the fuselage and the nose cone itself, and then attach your glue. And then on the back, the nozzles come in 3 parts. So you have the foam to foam that meet on the back, and then the plastic nozzles themselves glued to the foam. So I always score both sides and glue it all together one at a time here. Couldn't be easier. It's pretty self-explanatory, and that nozzle section does have a slot so you can't glue it in wrong. There's only one way it fits on the back, the way they did it for you, which makes it nice and easy. And then the wingtip rails, same thing. They are made out of foam, but they do have carbon inside just to make them a little sturdier. But again, just score it up, use a nice liberal amount of glue, and get those glued together. So that'll do it for step 5, getting on all the peripherals. And now step 6 is going to be getting your receiver all plugged in so that we can, again, make sure our servos are centered, and then attach the 2 remaining control rods to your elevator and get that set up. So I use an Admiral 6-channel receiver, as you see here, more than enough space. And all I did was throttle into the throttle channel, aileron into the aileron channel, elevator into the elevator channel, and then the nose steering gear I put into the rudder channel, just so you can steer her on the ground. So as you see here, 4 channels. And what I really like is the receiver can drop behind the battery tray, as you see here. So a receiver like this, nice and small, nice and out of the way, perfect spot for it. So I'm happy about that. I'm gonna mount it there. And then plugging her in, that's when you're going to make sure all your servos are centered. So again, check it over, make sure that even though the aileron servo control rods are already pre-installed, you want to check those, make sure they're straight, check that the nose gear is straight. And then when you're mounting your elevator, I mounted it so that I had a little bit of up elevator in there. So I'm about 5 millimeters below the seam in the back of the elevator when I was finished. But again, that's something I'm going to manipulate as I go out and fly it. But that's just based off of what I saw on some of the forums and such. But the book doesn't really tell you to do it either way. This is just something that I would rather have a little more up than down or even neutral when I fly. But we'll have to manipulate that later. So there you have it, pilots. That was a step-by-step assembly, an unboxing, a spec rundown. So at this point in the video, you will have a mostly finished F-18 Super Hornet from Freewing in the 64mm version. I'm excited for her. I think she's going to be fun to fly. I know a lot of people who swear by these. They have them. I, again, never got a chance to fly it, so this will be new to me, which is awesome. But I really do love the features about her. Let me show you. First, let's talk about the CG. The book calls for anywhere from 60 to 70 millimeters back from the leading edge of the wing. So when you measure that, that put me about right where the screw is. So I put my finger right at the front of the port where the front screw is, and that's where I'm CGing. So inside, real quick, you can see where I have my 2200 Admiral mounted. It is not fully forward. I had to come back a little bit to meet that CG point, but if you like to fly a little nose heavy, then you definitely, I know a lot of guys like to start out nose heavy and work their way back. I tend to just go with what the book says and what's giving me the proper CG and try to learn it from there. But as you can see, everything, I still haven't glued down or taped down my receiver yet, but it's not a rat's nest in there by any means. There's only 4 leads coming out that you're plugging into the servo, but the receiver, I'm sorry. But the receiver is nice back and tucked away, as I said, out of the way of the battery and everything. And more than enough space. I think you might be able to get even a wider battery in there. I'm thinking a 3000 would probably fit in there, and the 2500 Admiral we have should fit in there as well. But I'm gonna go with the recommended specs because that's the best way to fly it. Fly it on the recommended and then work your way around from there. Now, one thing I did want to talk about, because it popped up in this video, is making sure, guys, calibrate your ESCs. When I first plugged in my model, as you're going to see here, I noticed that right away when I went to rev the throttle, I went up about 20% before my throttle fired. So right off the bat, that tells me, oh, the ESC needs calibration. If I took it out and tried to fly like that, I would think this model was underpowered, and I'd either A, not be able to get off the ground, or just get off the ground and be really sluggish and not have the authority to get up and out of the way if I get in trouble. So you always want to make sure when you're doing any model you take out, regardless of the manufacturer, regardless of who it is, always check your throttle, because it may seem, if you do it quick and just goose the throttle, you may think, oh, everything's fine. Yes, the throttle works. But if the ESC isn't calibrated, then you're losing the full range of your thrust and your throttle potential. So as you can see on the mode on my transmitter, that I was able to move my throttle up to about 20% before you heard the throttle fire. So all it takes to calibrate your ESC on any Freewing model, what you're gonna do is unplug the battery. You're gonna leaving your transmitter on, you're gonna put the throttle in the full 100% position. You're gonna plug back in your battery. You're gonna wait to hear that first set of beeps, and after those beeps are done, bring your throttle back down to 0, and then she will arm as if she normally would, and then you'll see the second you bring your throttle up, when it reaches that first point, you should hear your throttle go. That means you're getting full range of your throttle. So it's something that is not just something you should do for this model specific, it's something you should do for every model. You might as well calibrate your ESC even if you plug it in and it seems calibrated. It's something that you should always go back and do, something like with pre-flight checks, something that to make sure your models are always at their fullest potential, because things happen in RC. Always make sure to calibrate your ESCs. So now that I have her on the table though, I might as well plug her in for you guys. So I should have my model already set. There we go. And I'll just get her plugged in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Plop it down. And as you can see, elevator's working. Now I have everything set up. I set up some high and some low rates. So I just have high rate elevator is about there. Now I'll move this so you can see on the better camera. That's my high rate. That's my low rate. So I'll always take off in fully high and then, and then drop to low during the flight. As far as my ailerons go, that is full high rate. I believe I did 3. I did mid rates on my ailerons, because mostly with a jet, I'll probably fly around like that unless I want to get crazy. But upon takeoff, I'll always start with the fullest of throws and give it a go from there. But that's full. This is book high rate, and then that's book low rate, and we measured that out. And again, you got your nose steering, so I have that on the rudder. Steering fine. Again, there are no rudders on this model. This is a bank and yank and bank jet, which should be more than fine. I probably do that too much anyway, even if I have rudders. But, again, when you're on the ground, you want the steering. There's no landing gear or anything. So lastly, let's rev it up now that we got full throttle potential. And she feels more than powerful enough. So even just driving her a bit, she drives nice. But I'm overall excited for this. And again, I could go over the CG and stuff as is. Oh, might as well show it while I'm here, since I have her now plugged in. So I'm putting my fingers right here, right on that corner. Right on that corner. And there she is. CG and with the 2200 4S. So, right on. And that'll about wrap up this video, guys. So as with all assembly videos, we took you through the unboxing, spec, step-by-step assembly, and the features, and all those links. If you have to come back, I have the timestamps in the description of this video. Product links are in the description of this video. Link to Hobby Squawk forum so you can talk to customers who own and have flown this model for numerous years is in the forums, and all we ask for you to do is click the like button, share it out. Thank you so much for watching us, and we'll see you next time at Motion RC.